sleep. They're watching our every move. Iran, Russia, China, North Korea, ISIS, Al-Qaeda. They may be watching this right now. Our military should not be mistaken for a cable news gabfest show. We don't care what you look like. We don't care who you voted for, who you worship, what you worship, who you love. It doesn't matter if your dad left you millions when he died or if you knew who your father was. We have been honed into a machine of lethal moving parts that you would be wise to avoid if you know what's good for you. We will not be intimidated. We will not back down. We've seen war. We don't want war. But if you want war with the United States of America, there's one thing I can promise you, so help me God. Someone else will raise your sons and daughters.
I want to make it clear that the views expressed by our hosts are not considered the official stance of MBR Views. Remember, this is all about having fun and enjoying the
and welcome to Into the Weeds podcast here on Military Broadcast Radio. I'm Amber. Thank you for joining me today. Today is actually special because I'm going live for the very first time. I am usually very nervous, and a lot of the reason why I do pre-recordings is because I get very nervous, and some of my guests that I have interviewed have had trouble getting the concept of live streaming. And so that's why I normally do recordings. But today, here I am. And I want to talk to you guys about something that has been on my mind for a couple of years. And we're going to get into the weeds definitely today because we're going to be talking about my life and why I believe what I believe. So today we're going to be discussing paranormal activity and being a Christian. So I've had a lot of conversations with people in my inner circle and on Facebook and in social media. And usually when the topics of paranormal or aliens or Bigfoot or anything like that come up, people think you're kind of crazy and they just kind of dismiss it and just kind of keep on going. But what I want you guys to know about me the most is that I am a Christian and that everything I do is filtered through that Christian lens from reading the Bible and being active in my local church and everything. So I wanted to start out by saying that I've definitely seen a lot of things in my life. And so we're just kind of going to go over that today. And I wanted to read you guys an article I found when I was doing some preparation for this stream. And I'm going to share it here. It's How Should a Christian Respond to Evidence of Paranormal Activity? Okay. So the word paranormal can be defined as the occurrence or the perception of an event without significant explanation or other purportedly supernatural phenomenon. Paranormal activity is an encompassing term that includes not only ghosts and hauntings and demonic activity, but also other unexplainable phenomena such as unidentified flying objects, UFOs, and extrasensory perception, ESP, to name just a few. With the proliferation of movies and television shows that in one way or another sensationalizes paranormal activity, it's clear that many are indeed fascinated with this realm. In fact, a 2007 low-budget movie titled Paranormal Activity went on to become one of the most profitable movies of all time. How then should Christians respond when we read about supposed hauntings and other paranormal occurrences? So, a common misconception is that disembodied spirits can remain on earth or perhaps come back to haunt or otherwise interact with us. However, nothing in the Bible supports this belief. Rather, man is destined to die once and after that to face judgment. Hebrews 9:27. But the Bible does make it clear that there are spirit beings, angels and demons that operate in the heavenly realm. The angels serve God. They are ministering spirits who are sent by God to serve those who will inherit salvation. Hebrews 1:14. Demons, on the other hand, are fallen angels under the control of Satan, and they roam the earth looking to destroy God's children. 1 Peter 5:8. They are cunning and wise and keenly aware of our weaknesses and our propensity to desire that which will satisfy our fleshly desires. Worst of all, they can masquerade as angels of light or as servants of righteousness. 2 Corinthians 11:14 and 15. Regarding the immensity of Satan's earthly operation, the Apostle John reminds us that the whole world is under his control, and that's found in 1 John 5:19. Now, some of the paranormal about today could very well be hoaxes perpetuated on a public that is all too eager to believe. In some cases, well-meaning people could be innocently mistaken as to what they think they might have seen or experienced. There is probably a logical explanation for much of what gets passed off as paranormal activity. However, if there is a genuine evil spirit activity occurring, it would have to be the work of demons. Either way, however, when Christians read or hear of such activity, we should not be intrigued by it or drawn to it. Rather, we should use it as a solid reminder of the spiritual battle that is the Christian life and the one against whom we struggle. Our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but it is against the powers of this dark world and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. That's found in Ephesians 6:12. Now, many people are no doubt intrigued by tales of ghosts and hauntings. Yet, if getting angry can give the devil a foothold into our lives, Ephesians 4:27, how much more so would a fascination with the dark forces of this world that he controls? Jesus came to the earth to destroy the devil's work, and it took his death to accomplish it. Our response to the paranormal activity, at least as it pertains to any sort of demonic activity, is to be reminded of the evil that ultimately led to our Savior's great sacrifice. Beyond that, Christians should avoid any and all contact with the paranormal. Okay, so I definitely agree with that. Statement that we should at all costs try to stay away from paranormal things and evil things, but what happens when we're not looking for the paranormal and it kind of comes and finds you? And that's kind of what I'm talking about today is that we have all experienced things. We've all lived lives that can be pretty interesting. And I just kind of want to talk about my experiences with the paranormal and why I'm trying to talk about this and figure it out for myself. So in response to the article, like I said, not a lot of people want to talk about it, and it gets kind of frustrating as somebody who has experienced these things. And I'll just go into what I'm talking about. So I kind of want to give you guys a little background on myself, and maybe it will explain a little bit of my odd behavior or the things that I talk about. So I was born in Lawton, Oklahoma, right at Fort Sill. And I was born in Comanche County in Native America. And so I grew up not only in a military town, experiencing all of the cultures and things that go along with that, from Koreans and Germans and people from India and all over the world. But I also have very rooted in my community, the Native American population, the Comanche Nation and the Kiowa Nation. And so from an early age, I was exposed to these people. I stayed in homes where, people were completely different than me, completely different from, their views and everything were completely different. And so I just grew up learning along the way about all of these different people and all of these different cultures. And being from Native America, from Oklahoma, I definitely have always I've just always believed in Sasquatch and the Deer Lady and the little people. And that's just kind of, that's just kind of how I grew up. And I never really thought anything of it because the people who were around me thought the same things. So it wasn't odd to me. It's only since I've been an adult that I have found that, it is pretty odd that that I would be interested in these things and believed in them. But yeah, so I just kind of wanted to give an overview of that. I grew up with the parallel forest, all the rumors and the folklore of going into the parallel forest at night and going to Crybaby Bridge. And, I grew up with a rich history of interesting folklore and people. And so I just kind of wanted to let you guys in on that and give you a little insight into where I'm coming from. So I do want to say that, as an adult now, I have definitely changed a little of my thinking, but I still think that Sasquatch is alive and well and is the hide and go seek champion of the world. And we're going to go to a commercial break now. And after we're done, we're going to come back and we're going to discuss my stepfather, who was a wizard, a self-professed wizard. And so get ready. And we're going to listen to Cade Roth and the Black Sheep, What's Left in Me Now, here on Military Broadcast Radio.
All right, here we go. Window daydream numbs my mind. Turn on the lights, I'm still blind. Speed up, slow down, wheels keep on spinning. I play the game, I'm not winning. I've been east, I've been west, I've been put to the test. I've been high, I've been low, I don't know where to go. I've been lost, I've been found, I've been spinning around. Here's what's left of me now. broken soul. 500 miles from my home. Can you save me from this hell? Can you save me from myself? I've been east, I've been west, I've been put to the test. I've been high, I've been low, I don't know where to go. I've been lost, I've been found, I've been spinning around. Here's what's left of me now. I've been west, I've been put to the test. I've been high, I've been low, I don't know where to go. I've been lost, I've been found, I've been spinning around. I've been east, I've been west, I've been put to the test. I've been high, I've been low, I don't know where to go. I've been found, I've been spinning around. Here's what's left of me now. What's left of me now.
Yeah, you ready?
Opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Into the Weeds podcast here on Military Broadcast Radio. I'm Amber, and that was Cade Roth and the Black Sheep. Cade is actually my cousin's husband, and he is a first responder in Medicine Park, Oklahoma. And I hope that he is successful, and I'm just being a great family member and promoting his music. So thank you, Cade and the Black Sheep, for letting us use your music. Okay, so we're back, and before we went on break, I was talking about my stepdad and how he is a self-professed wizard. So we're going to get into it. So when I was about 8 years old, after my parents had divorced, I think they divorced officially or separated officially when I was about 6 years old. But about when I was 8 years old, my mother met my stepdad, who was a retired master sergeant from the Army. He was a genius, literally. And he was a very, very fascinating man. He served in the Korean War, and he was airborne. And I'm learning a lot more about him and what he did for our country. And it makes me excited when I dig deep into what he was and who he was. So my stepdad, Craig, he, like I said, he was a self-professed wizard. He learned his craft, according to him, in the jungles of Mexico. He learned spells, and he learned how to make magic wands. Actually, I know that sounds ridiculous, magic wands. Okay, but whatever wands they were absolutely beautiful. They were wrapped in snake skin or leather and had jewels on them and crystals, and they were absolutely gorgeous. And yeah, he had the tarot cards, and he had the herbs, and he had the runes, the Ouija board, astrological charts, whatever you can think a wizard is, he had it. And so it wasn't unusual for me to wake up in the morning or come home from school and the living room to be completely full of little Korean ladies wanting their tarot cards read or whatever he was doing that day. And I remember sitting down with some of them occasionally, and they would tell me, "Oh, Craig, he's so knowledgeable. He knows the future." And so I kind of just used to shrug it off or whatever. I was like, okay, he looks like Einstein. Everybody thought he was my grandpa, but he wasn't. He was only 50 something when he died, I think. But yeah, so I grew up with a stepdad who was a wizard. And when he first actually moved to our house, I felt a malevolence rolling and oozing off of his tools of the trade, I guess you would say. I remember being so scared, not of Craig, but of the things that he possessed, the things that were in our home. And like I said, I could just feel the malevolence. I could feel the sinister vibe coming off of these tools. And so I would call my aunt and ask her to come pick my brother and I up. And she would literally walk across town and come pick us up because we were so scared. And, I have mixed perceptions of Craig now, because as an adult, I understand where he was coming from and the things that he saw and wore and the other things that he did. But, when I got older, about 16 years old, I actually went to him and asked him if he could read my cards. And he told me that he wouldn't read families' cards because there were spirits attached to these readings and these different things that he did. And I just kind of thought he was being ridiculous because he would do other people in the family's cards. And I was just like, I just thought he was being a jerk, probably. But now, as I look back on it, I think that he was very correct in what he was saying. And but I did. Now, I want to say that through my childhood, I did go to church off and on. I actually went to church for a good 5 years when I lived in Arkansas with my dad. And that's a whole nother story because Mary Duggar from 19 Kids and Counting was my Sunday school teacher. So that was interesting. But, and, I had really gotten into Christianity and everything, but I was still really lost. And when I went back to my mom's house with the drugs and then Craig doing his wizarding stuff, I kind of fell into a curiosity period, a period where I was very curious about a lot of things. And so I dabbled with his tarot cards, his Ouija board, his runes. I actually even became involved with a couple of other people who we tried our hand at spell casting and things like that. And I will say that there were some things that we asked for that happened, and they didn't happen in the way that we wanted them to happen. And it scared me. And so therefore I kind of just backed off from that, and just decided I just didn't really want anything to do with it. It was interesting, but it wasn't my thing. And so yeah, I dabbled, and I know that there are things out there that are unexplainable. And from all of the time that I lived with my stepdad, I know that that this world is a lot different than we think it is. And so we're going to go to break again, and we're going to talk back about my adulthood and why I'm actually talking about all of this. My husband was rear-ended by a dump truck and struck by lightning, and we've had all kinds of weird things happen to us. So come back and hear what we have to say.
Too big, wanting to grow up way too quick, searching for spotlights since I was 6. Hello, my name is Dream Too Big. Hello, my name is way too loud. My voice can cut right through the crowd. God make fun of for it, but who's laughing now? Hello, my name is way too loud. I know I've had my moments and I've had heartaches, but God is making miracles out of my mistakes. You can say I won't make it, and I can tell you that I don't really care. 'Cause hello, my name is going somewhere. Far. Lost all my words in a mason jar. Locked eyes with a stranger at the end of the bar. Hello, my name is You'll Go Far. Well, hello, my name is One More Try. I put too much stock in bad advice, 'cause anything worth leaving is worth loving twice. You're never gonna leave the ground. You can tell us all about it when you come back around. Hello, my name is Get Knocked Down. Hello, my name is Stand Back Up. Keep moving even when it gets rough. I've given so much, but I ain't giving up. Hello, my name is Stand Back Up. I know I've had my moments and I've had heartaches, but God is making miracles out of my
opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Into the Weeds podcast here on Military Broadcast Radio. That was Lauren Rose Thayer. I actually watched Big Grizz's interview with her the other day, and it was a great episode. I encourage you guys to go check it out. She is definitely going somewhere. She's got a beautiful voice. Okay, so we are going to get back into the weeds, and we're going to be talking about my adult life and what has happened to me since, what has happened to me to get me talking about this topic, paranormal activity and being a Christian. Okay, so I went into the Army and I met my husband, and after I got out, we got married and we had a child. And our daughter, Alora, who has been on the podcast with me in other episodes, was born with a genetic liver disease. And it's actually a pretty bad one. And so we took her to church. We were living in Arkansas at the time. And we went back to the church where Mrs. Duggar was my Sunday school teacher. And we had my former children's minister pray over her. And I'll tell you, Alora is, according to the #1 specialist in the United States at that time, is the healthiest person that has ever been diagnosed with alpha-1 antitrypsin deficiency with the ZZ phenotype. And so this kind of spurred me to get back into church, seeing the power of prayer. And even today, my husband's doctor has said that he has never met an adult with the ZZ phenotype. And my daughter is now 23, almost 24 years old. And so we're just praising God that that she's healthy and that he sees fit to minister in her life, and that she goes on to do really great things. So yeah, after Alora was born, my husband and I, we started getting involved in church. We moved to Florida, actually, and in 2001, December of 2001, both of us got baptized in a little Baptist church, and that was the beginning of the rest of our lives. And so yeah, we ended up getting really involved with church. We ended up going to another church, which is honestly the healthiest and best church I've ever been to, Christian Church in the Wildwood in Weeki Wachee, Florida. I highly recommend it if you want a really good church with really good people. That's the place you need to check out. So we got involved really heavily in children's ministry, partly because there weren't a whole lot of people willing to help out in children's ministry, and also because we had a child and we wanted to make sure that she was going to church and learning. And by default, we kind of just fell into it, and it has been a huge blessing in our lives. So anyways, we spent quite a few years at church at learning. My husband went and worked for a nonprofit organization called Christian Contractors Association, where he bottled water for disaster relief. They were big in helping supply water for Hurricane Katrina victims. And so everything was going really good in our lives. We were learning a lot, living a great life of peace and no drama, and just a really great, fruitful life. I worked at a Christian school as a as an assistant and as a substitute. And I really enjoyed my time there. And while I was there and while my husband was going in his ministry, we both kind of came to a decision uh, on our own, that we both wanted to pursue higher education. And it just happened to be both of us were thinking of it at the same time. And so we came together, talked about it, and we decided that that's what we were going to do. We were going to go to college. We were going to get into full-time ministry. And that's what we did. But I'll tell you that the moment we made that decision, everything else in the world changed for us. So the moment we made that decision, our lives started kind of falling apart. And I guess that would be an attack, a spiritual attack. But so, yeah, my husband and I had opened up our own company where we were providing water for disasters and things like that, procuring water and different things. And the company was going well, and we figured we could do that while we were going to school. And on the way to a really big job, my husband got rear-ended by a dump truck and ended up having to have 4 back surgeries. And only a couple of, I don't know, maybe a couple of months after that, I was sitting in my living room. My husband was outside working on one of our vehicles. And all of a sudden, I felt, actually, I saw this big flash of light, and I felt the house just rushing in and imploding on me. It actually felt like an explosion, but it was like, I don't know. I've never been in an explosion, but I could imagine that's what it felt like, because everything just rushed in, all the air, everything, sound, everything. And yeah, so my husband, I saw him get hit, and I went to the door, and he came to the door, and he could barely talk, but all he said was, I feel like I've been touched by the hand of God. And so, yeah, it was very devastating. You know, he didn't have a lot of normal effects, but what he did have was a lot of chest pains and a lot of feeling like his muscles and things were tearing. And he had that for quite a few years afterwards. But so, and it's actually an interesting story as to how we got to college. Charles, my husband, being struck by lightning is what paid for our first and last month's rent on the rental property that we decided to get while we were going to college. It paid for groceries, and it paid for the utilities to be turned on. So in hindsight, it was a true blessing that Charles got struck by lightning. And he even says that himself. So I'm not just putting that on him. So we get over to Kissimmee, Orlando area, and we start going to Florida Christian College. And our first semester was really great. We were doing everything that we were supposed to do. We were accomplishing a lot. We were really happy. And then my father got sick, and he needed to come live with us. So we invited him to our home, and it's hard to talk about because I have talked about it a lot, but with this big of an audience, it's a little difficult. But so my dad, when he showed up to our house, the man who showed up at our door was not my dad. I actually distinguished the two. The man who showed up at my house was my father. And I say that because he didn't dress like my dad. He didn't act like my dad. The insecurities that my dad had, this man did not have. Everything was completely different about him. And it was a shock. it was definitely a shock. But, I just kind of roll with things because I've been through so much trauma in my life, and I haven't even told you guys half of what I've gone through. But so it was just another thing where I was like, okay, dang, that sucks. But he's here. Maybe we can help him just come to terms with his midlife crisis or whatever was going on.
Granny Lisa. Amber,
Yes.
Granny Lisa says that she understands you completely. You've got a couple on TikTok watching you, so no pressure.
Thank you, Granny Lisa. Yeah, I'm actually telling this story just so I just want to talk about it because not many people want to talk. They close up and they just act like there's nothing to see here. Nothing nothing weird ever happens in the world, and if it does, it's just to some crazy person. So actually, I guess we're coming up to a big part of this story, and so I think we should go to a break now and just kind of get into the weeds about my father's suicide and how it affected our lives. It was bad. So come back and join us, and we'll see you in a little bit.
"60 years went rolling by. It was here we said goodbye. The war was brewing, it was extreme. We were only teens. I knew the day I died, all alone, my brand new bride. Our favorite song would be a sign I'd be back in time. So raise a flag with pride and grace. I seen the pain on a soldier's face. Bring me home, both sides say. I'm a soldier of the USA. You weren't alone all these years. Seen you cry, I know your tears. You raised our child and a family, all without me. You've done well with your life, lots of friends by your side. I heard a nightly secret prayer, I was always there. So raise our flag with pride and grace. I seen the pain on a soldier's face. Bring me home, both sides say. I'm a soldier of the USA. Now it's time, my lovely wife, to bring you home. Say goodnight. Close your eyes to our favorite song. Can you see me now? Can you see me now? One day we'll come back in time for those we leave behind. But for now, we'll watch them grow. Welcome home. Welcome home. Welcome home.
Opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Into the Weeds podcast here on Military Broadcast Radio. That was The Soldier's Prayer by John Michael Ferrari. I think that's how you say it. I'm sorry if it's not. But yeah, welcome back. And thank you for joining me on this journey of my life and the weird things that have happened to me. So, and I haven't even gotten into half of it. But so before we took a break, I was telling you guys that my dad had come to live with us, and the man who showed up at our house was not my dad. I classify him as my father, and so everything seemed fine. Everything seemed fine. He had only been living at our house for approximately 2 weeks, and it was the second Sunday. And so we had invited him to church to, just come along. He didn't have to go to church. We just invited him. And so he said he was going to go, and he made plans with my children to take them to the park across the street from the house that we lived in. And so yeah, everything was fine. I was sick, and it was actually my birthday weekend. It had just been my birthday, and I was sick. I get sick randomly. Now I found out that I'm allergic to beef and pork and milk, so that's probably why I was sick. But yeah, so it was Sunday morning, and of February the 7th of 2009 or 2010. And we had my son in our bed with us. He probably just fell asleep cuddling with me or whatever. And usually my son would sleep in the room that my dad was sleeping in, because we didn't have any area for him to sleep other than on the bottom bunk of my son's bunk bed. And like I said, it had only been 2 weeks, so we hadn't really figured anything out. And so my son crawls out of our bed that Sunday morning, and he walks into his bedroom to get his toys to play. And then all of a sudden, we hear my son saying, "Papa, why is there a gun on the ground?" And my husband immediately jumped up, freaked out, and ran in there, and he brought my son into the bedroom where I was laying down, and I was like, what the heck is going on? And I have an amazing husband, so he didn't even hesitate. He woke my daughter up and got me out of bed, and then told us that he needed to talk to my dad for a minute, and that he was going to take me and the kids to Denny's or somewhere. We ended up at Denny's, but he wanted to just take us somewhere to figure out what was going on. And he said that he needed to have a stern talk with my dad. So I'm thinking, okay, that doesn't sound right, but okay, let's see what happens. So he gathers us up, he takes us to Denny's, and then he leaves and says he's just going to go have a talk with my dad. And the kids and I are sitting there. And at Denny's, we got some food. And after probably about 45 minutes, I still didn't hear anything from my husband. So I tried to text him. I tried to call him. He wasn't answering. So I went up to the hostess at Denny's, and I just asked her, if she knew of any place we could go. And I don't even know why I went and asked her that. I knew that we could have probably just called a cab and taken us somewhere. But my mind wasn't working right. And so I sat back down, and then all of a sudden 2 police officers came to the table and escorted me and my children out of Denny's. and they separated my daughter and my son from me, put me in the back of one police car, and took my children in the back of another police car. And we found out that after I got into the interrogation room, I found out that my father had killed himself. And it was a complete surprise. He didn't leave a note. He didn't talk to anybody, didn't tell anybody what was going on. And so we just were left with that, and what people don't understand is that when somebody commits suicide, especially in your home, you have to clean up the mess unless you call a crime scene cleanup crew. And that's very expensive, in the $4,000 or $5,000 range, just to have somebody come and clean, which I completely understand. It takes a special kind of person to do something like that. So what ended up happening is that my husband and my father-in-law had to clean up my father's mess. And what I didn't tell you guys is that when my father shot himself, the bullet went through the wall and ricocheted on my daughter's window and fell in her bed. Luckily, she wasn't up when it happened. She was actually a sleepwalker. And so just the thought of that, God's good. God's good, honestly, because, it could have been a very different situation. And so the reason I'm telling you guys all of this is because after my father's death, there was a lot of weird things that ended up happening. A lot of things that I never would have thought I would have ever experienced. And so we're going to get into that after our next commercial. So we're going to get into all of the paranormal experiences that me and my family have experienced since my father's death. And I hope that this doesn't skew your view of me. I hope that you don't take me as somebody who's just, not logical, because I am logical. I've had 7 years of college and a lot of stuff. So we're going to go to a commercial right now, and then we'll get back into the paranormal activity that we experienced after my father's death.
Let's go, Brandon. Hey. Let's go, Brandon. Hey. Let's go. Let's go. Hey. Let's go, Brandon. Let's go, Brandon. You know what they saying, ho? Let's go, Brandon. Let's go, Brandon. You know what they saying, ho? Let's go, Brandon. Let's go, Brandon. You know what they saying, ho? Let's go, Brandon. Let's go, Brandon. Hey, you know what they saying, ho? Hey, you know what they saying, though? Hey, you know what they, yeah, you know what they, yeah, hey. And I say it with a passion as I pull off in the Aston. Don't nobody like his ass, huh? Tried to cover up and tell the people, go Brandon. But we know what they saying, though. You can hear the chant in every post. Don't nobody want this commie, cause we not in China. Everybody hated Trump and now they out to catch a body. That's what they get for treating us like we in Squid Games. Green light, mandate, like he's insane. These times people waking up to everything. Go Brandon, but we all know what the saying mean. Let's go Brandon. Let's go Brandon. You know what they saying, ho? Let's go Brandon. Let's go Brandon. You know what they saying, ho? Let's go Brandon. Let's go Brandon. You know what they saying, ho? Let's go Brandon. Let's go Brandon. Hey, you know what they saying, ho? Hey, you know what they saying, though? Hey, you know what they, yeah, you know what they, yeah, hey.
opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Into the Weeds here on Military Broadcast Radio. That was the Marine rapper, Laza Alexander, and Let's Go Brandon. And I love that song. I love Laza. I've followed him since he came out. And yeah, to anybody who finds fault with his message, I'm sorry for you. But no, honestly, he's very talented and I respect him. And I think actually he might be going through some health problems right now. So we probably need to keep him in our prayers. Okay, so before we went to our break, I was talking about my father's suicide, and we're going to talk about now the paranormal activity that happened after my father's suicide, which I honestly, truly believe is mind-blowing. It's something that I just honestly never thought that I would ever experience. So as I told you, my husband and my father-in-law had to clean up the crime scene, I guess, the death scene. And that was very emotional for them, very emotional for them. And I can't even imagine how much they probably hated my dad at that moment because they understood that it was going to be a journey getting back to the people that we were after this. So, okay, so after my father-in-law and my husband cleaned up the crime scene, they started having dreams about my dad chasing them. My dad was very angry with them in the dreams, and he would just chase them through hallways or streets or whatever. And it was very prevalent, and somebody else in our family had helped with the cleanup too, and he experienced it as well, but I'm not going to tell you about that. But so it started out, the paranormal activity started out with the dreams of my husband and my father-in-law. And then myself and my daughter and my son, who was 4 at the time, and my daughter was 10, I believe, or 9. She was 9. We all started having dreams about my dad chasing us all over the place. And when I tell you this, I want you guys to understand that my dad was very kind. He was very loving. He was kind of like a big teddy bear. Always had a kind word to say, always happy, always smiling. And so for us to all start having dreams about my father chasing us was just so bizarre. I couldn't understand it. I knew that we had done nothing, to push my father into this act. And I know that he actually went to the VA. He called the Veteran Suicide Hotline, and they told him that they would get him an appointment, but they didn't bring him in for an ER visit or anything like that. And so he never got the chance to speak to anybody, which I've been kind of upset with the VA for that. And, it's understandable. But ultimately, he made the decision and not them. So I can't hold them completely at fault for that. So after the dreams, well, actually, we had to move from the rental property that we were at. And luckily, the college that we were going to, Florida Christian College, had some dorms available for married students. And so we moved into the dorm. And the weird things just started picking up after that. Probably because my father was cremated, and we ended up picking up his ashes and putting them on the refrigerator of the dorm. Probably wasn't a wise choice, but we didn't have any other option. So as we were living there, I would go down to the laundry area, and the whole time I would walk down there, I would feel like my dad. I could literally feel the presence of my dad, but it was an ominous presence. It was a scary presence. It wasn't what I normally associated my dad with, being kind and loving and sweet. And so I just thought, okay, this is really weird. Maybe, I'm just projecting something onto him that I don't know I'm projecting onto him or whatever. And it's just messed me up, and now I have PTSD. And so, yeah, whatever. But then it would happen even when I would be going to class, or especially when I would have to walk from the dorms all the way into the sub where the mailboxes were. I would feel my dad literally behind me, and he would be chasing me. I would feel like I would literally have to like walk fast because I felt this presence on me. And I told my husband about it. We prayed about it. We tried to come up with some logical reasons why this would happen. But we could never really come up with anything other than, okay, maybe this is trauma, or it's just some kind of evil influence that we didn't know about. And I will tell you that after my father's death, and after going through his things, he was into some things that I'm not going to talk about here, but they were very concerning enough for me to actually get my DNA tested and put on GEDmatch just in case. Just in case there's anything out there that my father may have done after he became this new person. And I don't want to ever be a hindrance for any kind of law enforcement investigation. If I can help, I want to help. So, yeah, it's very hard to understand. You grow up with who you think is your dad, and then they die, and you find out that there's a whole lot more to them. And I'm sure that happens with a lot of people, but this was over and beyond what I was expecting. So, so the next big thing that started happening is when we decided to bury my father, we decided to bury him at our family cemetery in Oklahoma. And so we took his ashes to Oklahoma, and we were staying at a hotel in Duncan, Oklahoma, and something really weird happened, and I'm not even sure how to describe it. So my dad's ashes were at the bottom of the bed, and there was this chest there. So they just sat there with all of our bags and everything, and I didn't think anything about it. But I was laying in bed that night, and all of a sudden, now this is going to sound crazy, please bear with me, but all of a sudden this man was standing next to my bed. I remember everything about this man. This man was pale white as a person could possibly ever be, like an albino kind of white. He was extremely skinny, emaciated to where you could see his ribs. And he didn't have a shirt on. He had camo shorts, so like BDUs that were cut, and you could see the phrase on the bottom of the shorts. And he was bald, completely bald. And this man started talking to me about my dad. He started telling me that everything was going to be okay, and that, okay, this is going to sound weird, and I only say it to give you context. And this isn't even the type of language I use, so I find it hard that it would come out of my mouth or my imagination. But so this guy said, Amber, everything's going to be okay. All you have to do is pray, and your dad will come into your heart. And I know that kind of sounds like some kind of weird zealot type of thing. I don't know. I don't talk about praying anybody into my heart. You know, that's just not my vocabulary, not my vernacular. And so, but he just had this running conversation with me that it would be okay if I just prayed my father into my heart. And I would tell him, no, you know, that's, I don't do that. And he just finally, he looked at me dead in the face, and he just said, Amber, it's going to be okay. Just do what I tell you to do. And I just said, you know what? I don't pray anybody into my heart, but if I were to pray somebody into my heart, it would only be Jesus Christ. And, you know, and he left, and my husband immediately sat up, and he's like, Amber, what happened? What happened? And I don't know if he said that he had been in prayer, and I don't know if he was praying and sleeping, or if this just happened in my head or my dream or what. But I tell you, I could have reached out to that man and I could have touched him. That's how real he was. And so after that, things just got worse and worse. And it seemed to be like the whole family was very susceptible to these odd things happening. And it definitely put a stress on us, just because you don't know how to deal with something like this, especially if you're living your life in a godly way and you're trying to do the very best you can to be good for yourself and your family. And when you do talk about this kind of stuff to people, they freak out and they don't know what to say to you or how to react. So we just kind of kept it in. We just kept dealing with it and kept dealing with it. And yeah, it got worse. And I'm actually going to talk about after this next break about about the depression I guess I was in, and the things that I experienced while going through that, being bedbound with chronic migraines and chronic pain and not being able to do anything. And it made for a very interesting time in my life. So we're going to go to a break, and then when we come back, we'll talk about all of that. Okay.
Stats tell that each day, 22 veterans commit suicide due to PTSD. These stats shook us and urged us to do our part. After hours and hours of thinking, Beekeeping for Veterans was born. Beekeeping for Veterans combines beekeeping with mindfulness meditation. Why combine them? Here's why. Beekeeping causes positive rush of adrenaline while beekeeping. You have to be calm during it. You are mindful of your movements. Each week, a veteran will receive a mindful meditation to build emotional and mental skill sets. Mindfulness is a set of 3 attentional skills that work together: concentration, sensory clarity, and equanimity, mental calmness, composure, evenness of temper. Every time mindfulness is practiced, we build these skills. Beekeeping for veterans not only helps veterans overcome emotional trauma, but also aids our environment, as without bees, there is no food. Come forward. The people who have supported your country now need your support.
Introducing LT Defense Tactical Gear, your ultimate solution for top-notch protection and performance in the field. Our armor bundles provide unmatched safety and comfort, while our battle belts and holsters ensure quick and easy access to your gear. Stay prepared for any situation with our high-quality medical supplies, designed to keep you ready for action at all times. Looking to enhance your skills? Our firearms training programs will take your proficiency to the next level. Trust LT Defense for all your tactical gear needs and gear up for success on the battlefield.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Into the Weeds podcast here on Military Broadcast Radio. And that ad about beekeeping, my cousin is a beekeeper, and he uses it to help him with his sobriety. And I believe he's been sober for now 12 years. So it definitely is something that can really help people. So I definitely encourage anybody who is just thinking about it to look into it and pursue it, because it can help you. Okay, so before we went to break, I was talking about how the paranormal activity ramped up. And so just so you guys understand, for 7 years, my husband and I, we lived in Kissimmee, going to college and ministering in the churches there, and just still living our lives, being productive and, doing what we could to help the world and change the world and love on kids, and especially the youth group. We really, really enjoyed the youth group, especially at Point Siena Christian Church. And gosh, that was an amazing time in our life. But we ended up having to move, because the house that we were renting after we had lived at the college, the people wanted it back. And so we needed to find a place to live. And my husband's parents had a rental property. So we decided we would go live in it. And we figured it would only be about 6 months. It ended up being about 7 years. And it was probably the 7 worst years of my life. I immediately, when we got there, it was a very odd house in a very odd neighborhood. I wish that we had never put our family there. I wish that we had never even seen that place, but we did. And so immediately, when we got there, I got very sick and ended up having to have surgery. And then my mother died, probably maybe a month after we got into the house, if that. And and in between that, my brother died at 30 years old, which is a whole nother experience because of the weird things that he saw when he was dying. But yeah, so my father died, my brother died, and my mother died, and we're in this house, and it's a terrible place to be. To just be straight up honest, it was a terrible place to be. And I ended up laying in bed for 6.5 years in that home because of chronic migraines. They were so debilitating that I was basically in bed for 26 days out of the month. And it was really hard on my entire family. because we were always used to being together and being social and getting out and doing things. And yeah, so I ended up becoming basically a hermit and living in my bed and not being able to eat anything. And while I was in that bed, I experienced a lot of weird stuff where I would be laying there and all of a sudden I would hear somebody come in the room and there would be nobody there, or I would feel somebody sit on the bed and there would be nobody there. And, my husband would come in and out of the room, sit on the bed, whatever. But these times it wasn't him. And I started having really weird dreams and seeing things that were not there. And I don't know if this was part of the whole just being sick. I highly doubt it. Just because I've been sick my whole life and I've never experienced some of these things. So yeah, it was just, it was really weird. So I guess long story short, there was a whole lot of weird things. And I was very scared to live in that house. And eventually we decided to move. And we decided to move out of the state of Florida. And we moved here to Missouri. And I kind of thought that we had left all of that behind. I kind of thought that there was it was just some kind of bubble hanging over us or something there in Florida. Couldn't really figure it out. But so we moved to Missouri, find a home that we were happy with. I mean, as happy as you can be for a market that was really tough to get into, and you had to pay a whole lot more for the house than they were asking. But yeah, so we got here, and I thought, okay, this is a new life, a new time, and everything was going really good. And I think we were here for about a year, and I think we've been here for about 3 years now. So we had been here about a year, and I was standing in my kitchen, and I had my back to my pantry, and my kids were sitting at the table, and my husband was standing right there in the kitchen, because our dining area, pantry, kitchen is all in one room. And all of a sudden, okay, this is going to sound weird, but all of a sudden I got pushed. And I was like, okay. So I started looking around, and I was watching my family, and I was like, okay, what the heck happened? And nobody reacted, but I definitely got pushed. I definitely moved. And it was actually my my left shoulder here. And so I was like, okay. So I told my husband and kids about it, and they were like, no, we didn't notice anything. And and we kind of left it at that. And I was like, okay, whatever. And then maybe about a month later, my daughter is throwing something away in the trash can. And once again, my back is to the pantry. And I'm talking to her, and her back is facing my front. So we're kind of like in a line. And all of a sudden I get pushed again. And that really freaked me out, because, I knew nobody else was behind me. I knew nobody else was in the room. And so I just kind of was like, okay, Laura, something weird just happened to me. And hey, Kathleen. Hey, Terry. Yeah, so something weird happened to me, and I was just kind of freaking out, and I was like, okay, here's another weird thing that's happening. So I kind of just let it go. And then I would say about maybe 6 months later, I'm sitting on my deck, And my husband's out there with me, and we're looking up at the stars, and there's so many weird things to see in the sky here. I have never seen anything like it in my life. And if you guys have ever seen Starlink, or what I was told is Starlink, holy cow, you think that there is a freaking alien invasion coming. I don't know if anybody else has experienced that before, but it was wild. So we're sitting out on the deck. We had been seeing all this stuff, and all of a sudden something went under my leg and pulled something that I had under my leg out from underneath my leg, and it fell onto the stairs beside me. And I absolutely knew that there was nobody there. My husband was sitting right next to me. Thank you, Fire Social Network. You don't even know the half. I'm not even saying everything that's happened. I'm condensing it. But yeah. So yeah, it just completely freaked me out. And so I don't know, maybe 6 months later, my neighbor comes out, and I'm like, okay, I need to ask you something. Has somebody died at this house? And he's like, no, Amber, not that I know of, because this our neighbor has lived in this house basically since the houses were built in the 80s, and he's also a major fixture in this area, a very solid person, a very logical person who actually works in a very high. He works in the education system. I'll just say that. And so it's very credible. And so I just said, hey, man, I hate to sound weird, but has anything weird ever happened? And he's like, okay, Amber, let me tell you. I was like, no way, really, what? So he said, yeah, we have had a lot of weird experiences here. We have our lights that in the garage that will be unscrewed, and literally unscrewed, not just like it's kind of loose or whatever, but it'll actually be unscrewed. And his TV coming on, different things coming on. And I was just like, okay, I feel a little better. I feel a little better that I'm not the only one experiencing these weird things, because sometimes you think you're crazy. You're like, what the heck? And so yeah, he actually told me that from his knowledge, from his understanding, the area that we live on is actually, it used to be a marsh, and there was a lot of Native American activity. And so maybe that's what's happening. I don't know. But I could tell you guys a whole lot more about the things that have happened to me. But basically, I just wanted to come on and talk to you guys about this, because as a Christian, I know what I believe. I'm very firm in who I am. I'm very firm in my beliefs in the Bible. And but what I found out from reading the Bible and from interacting with other Christians who have had very strange paranormal encounters, activity, whatever, what I've realized is that we try to put God in a box, and we try to say that this happens or this doesn't happen. We try to say that we know all these things. And yes, we can know some things, but I've found that the more I look into paranormal activity and UFOs and all of the different creatures and folklore of this world, I find that God shows up every time. I actually am pretty amused sometimes at God showing out, or God showing himself, and people don't realize what it is. And so yeah, I'm just kind I just wanted an open discussion with you guys about this, and hopefully you can kind of figure out who I am a little bit, and we can build rapport and a community, and just learn more about each other and the world, and everything that is mysterious is everything that's mysterious has an origin. And like we read in the article earlier, you know, there is angel activity, there's demon activity. But I wonder because when you talk to people from Haiti, and they will have stories about water people and mer people and little people that crawl out of the water. When you talk to Native Americans, they have stories of Sasquatch and the Deer Lady and little people and so many other things, you know, and any continent, people group, culture that you encounter has their own weird things. And I think that a lot of it is based in reality. And I think that we're just kind of closed-minded and put God in a box and say that it doesn't happen, or that we should just not pay attention to it and go on with our lives. And how is that supposed to help me as a person who's experienced some of these things? How is it supposed to encourage me? You know, if I were a different person, if I hadn't gone through all of the trauma in my life that I've gone through, these things probably would have made me feel like I was crazy or that I was going nuts, you know, and, but I am secure in who I am. I know what I've gone through. And, yeah, so I don't know. I just want to talk to you guys about this. And if anybody has any stories they want to share, if anybody wants to come on and just talk about their experiences, you know, I would love that. I would love to have open communication about this and just kind of move it from the area of taboo and more just about reality and what we're experiencing. So I guess that's all I have for you guys today. I could have gone into a whole lot more, but I think it's for a different time. And yeah, it's for a different time. So I thank you guys, everybody, for joining me today on my first live stream where I told a whole lot of weird stuff, and hopefully you don't discredit me and think that I'm a weirdo. But yeah, thank you for joining me on Into the Weeds podcast here on Military Broadcast Radio. And I hope that you have a wonderful day. And I can't wait to hear from everybody and learn more about the community. Have a great day.
It's the guts and it's the glory. 100 stripes, 100 stories. It's the Pledge of Allegiance on the 4th of July. It's them handwritten letters from home. It's them sleepless nights alone. It's his newborn baby he left with his wife. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, lay down, hear the line. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, for these stars and stripes. Hey, from the fields of Indiana to the swamps of Louisiana to the golden coast of California, Uncle Sam's the only family he's got. His purple heartbeat won't stop. And his 18th birthday was the day he was born. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, lay down, hear the light. much in love. Hey. Hey.
That's the show for today, everyone. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week with an all-new show. And remember, you can listen to us again and again. The podcast of this radio show is available right after we go off the air tonight, anywhere that you can get your podcast episodes. And thanks for joining.